John Brown with Collected Development. Let's talk about part 2, the flip through of Uncanny X-Men 350. Like a lot of issues from the mid-90s, especially Marvel anniversary issues, they had a wrap-around, fold-out cover with some sort of foam, foil or chromium kind of treatment to it. As you can see, it's a little lower key than 300 and even maybe 325, but you can look at Sabretooth's mane and see that flashy treatment that we all love from the 90s that brings us back great memories. As you can see, the pages go back to the newspaper print. It's a little higher quality newspaper print, but I really think being harsh on 325 is because I know 350, the creative team, art-wise, I think got together better, and I think the coloring is better. I think the art pops a lot better in this issue than they did with the inking in 325. If you hadn't looked at my 300 flip through yet, please do. It's John Romita Jr.'s, I would say, masterwork of splash pages and action and panel sequence. Highly recommend. That said, I really think that in 2 years, the technology and the look and color of this issue really does bring the book to a better life. And I think also the paneling and sequence is much better. This issue is the trial and error of Gambit, basically, and it reveals, and again, spoiler alert here, that Gambit was the person who worked for Mr. Sinister and led the Marauders into the tunnels of Morlocks to basically exterminate a lot of them. And that's also addressed and talked about in issue 325. Here you see we have Angel without the metal wings, and you have Maggot, who later becomes an X-Man, and you have Psylocke, who has the tattoo of the Crimson Dawn. This was after the Crimson Dawn miniseries with I think he was Archangel still with the Crimson Dawn, but correct me if I'm wrong. The art, you see the Twin Towers here. You see Magneto as Joseph. And again, the writing is really choppy in this, but I think it's because the plot was by one writer and the scripting was by another writer. So you can't really blame them for picking up where someone left off. In architecture, when you pick up someone else's drawings, it's a nightmare. So I gotta say that I can't blame them for having some choppiness and panel sequencing. That said, the art is really just beautiful here. Look, this is Joe Mad at his finest with really interesting architecture. Speaking of which, there are more splash pages. There are flashbacks to the original teams. This is a beautiful page with all the generations coming together. I think Xavier is trapped in this issue. And as you can see, Blind Justice is there. And Psylocke and Archangel are wandering around. There's some PlayStation ads that are awesome. Bushido Blade, that was a great game. I didn't own it, but I had a friend who did. There is some drama. Eric the Red shows up. But again, The color, the line, the inking off the penciling is much better here. Still has a heavy manga feel and look to it. Still a little different, not as detailed necessarily as a lot of the Japanese manga will have, but really stripped down, more cartoon-like manga art, which also has its due and is beautiful in its own right. But the trial can get a little boring, to be fair, and Angel, being restrained, ends up being a reluctant lawyer while Gambit is on trial. And then it is revealed that Gambit basically led the Marauders into the tunnels to massacre the Morlocks, and Rogue is in disbelief, and you see that Rogue does save Gambit, but only to the extent that she leaves him to pretty much die in Antarctica. And after this issue, you don't see much of Gambit. You see much Gambit in and out, but to completely destroy the popularity of a major character, at one point was just as popular as Wolverine, was a little shocking, and I think pushed some boundaries, and I got to give credit to that. And then this end splash page is fantastic. This is Magneto back to full strength, and trying not to give away too much of the story, but also giving the panels some context. But that is the flip through, and on to part 3, which is the review.